Welcome to the Inspiration North podcast, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, Laughter is the Best Medicine, with Rebecca Della. We talk about what laughter yoga is, a serendipitous trip to China that led to a job in Japan, and why she forgot that we like to queue in England.
They say laughter is the best medicine, and a phrase that motivated Rebecca Della to run laughter workshops during 2020. Rebecca is a wellbeing consultant, laughter facilitator and chief happiness officer who works with organisations to help them thrive by helping them invest in the wellbeing and happiness of their employees. Rebecca's background spans 12 years working in learning and development teams, 3 years of which were spent in Japan and France. Her specialisms include people management, mentoring and coaching. Her passion for wellbeing was ignited when living and travelling around Asia. A trip to India inspired an interest in yoga and Ayurveda, where she even got to star in a Bollywood film. Rebecca likes to take the road less travelled, which makes for a bumpy road at times, but it's certainly full of adventure.
So this is our first guest of 2021, Michelle. So how are you today, Rebecca?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you both?
Yeah, pretty good.
New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Let's see what we get in 2021.
Dragons. Definitely dragons.
Unicorns.
Jurassic World's coming out this year, so the third one. That'll be good. See, I'm dinosaurs. Yeah.
So shall we start with the first question then? When you were little, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Well, I did. So from about the age of 13, I wanted to be a travel agent. So I think when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of money around, so we didn't really get to travel. So I think I went abroad for the first time when I was 15, which is very different to kids nowadays. I think my son was 3. So I always wanted to be a travel agent. And then I started working in travel and then realised very quickly that I wasn't going to quite get the dream of travelling the world. I think the most I got was a free ferry to France. So that soon changed those plans. And I think my salary was 4,500 to start with. So yes, it was not quite what it seemed, but it did. It was my first job. I didn't go to university. I started at 16, and that was it really. I did that for a few years and then decided there wasn't much money in it and I wasn't really travelling the place I wanted to go to. So I decided to do it all myself. So yeah, that was...
I always loved the travel agents in the days. Perhaps things are a bit more online now, but I used to love... You could get brochures based on area of the world, and then you just sort of start flicking through and thinking, oh yes, I'd love to go there and do a safari and then go on this particular cruise, and then you sort of get to a list where you need about £1 million to tick everything off.
Galapagos.
Yeah. Oh yes. So what did you do next then, if you talked about doing things yourself?
Well, I then decided I wanted to travel to Australia. So I did a trip to Australia for a couple of months, and then from there I got back and realised I kind of dumped the boyfriend at the time, and then decided I wanted to go over there for a year. So I joined another travel company, and they specialised in Australia and New Zealand, and then got to then I left there. So I had this habit of just having so many different jobs during my life. So I left there and then went to travel for a year. And so that was kind of a very different experience, because the first one was just a couple of months, whereas this was a working holiday, just on my own for a year. So that was a bit scarier than the first time. And I went, so I think I was around 21 when I went there for a year, and the recession had hit in Australia. So suddenly I'd kind of got over then. They were like, you do realise there are no jobs, so you're not going to have much luck finding jobs. So that was a little bit tricky. So I just had sort of 2 or 3 months where my money started running out. So it was like, oh God, what am I going to do? Quick, I need to come up with a plan. And so I literally had to kind of walk door to door to places and just find sort of jobs and anything that I could. So it was a real, I don't know, it's one of those kind of life experiences that really kind of help build your resilience, where you're out of the family home, you haven't got your mum and dad to go back to, and you're literally just thrown out into the wild. So that was kind of a real kind of wake up call. But I think it's part of that that's just helped me, I think, even in current times, just knowing how resilient you could be when you travel.
What kind of jobs did you do?
Well, I was, I was waitressing. I was a chambermaid on, I don't know if anyone knows, Rottnest Island. Mm-hmm. So I worked in a very, very posh department store selling perfume, which I got sacked from. They kind of wanted you to be very glamorous and, perfect nails, perfect makeup. I was backpacking around Australia. I didn't have makeup and I didn't have the perfect nails. So I didn't really fit the description. Mm. Then I sort of found jobs, customer service and filing, and I pretty much did anything that was needed. But it was fun. It was really kind of a good grounding of I guess kind of having sort of just basic sort of admin jobs and just being able to pick up anything. And I also worked in one of these what do you call them, like they organise events. So I had weddings and birthdays, so very, very posh environment. and they asked me at the interview, could you show us how you would hold 3 plates? And I hadn't ever worked in that kind of environment before. So I literally just kind of guessed how I would hold 3 plates. And they looked at me and they said, that's a different way of doing it. And they knew that I hadn't had any experience at all. But I think by then I was quite desperate for money. And I just had to almost, it's really hard now, because I think, would I have, kind of told sort of a white lie to get a job? But, when you're in those situations where money is so desperate, but it was just all kind of life experiences. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I got so much from it.
I can carry 3 plates. It's one of my amazing skills, because I worked in restaurants all the way to university. So I can do the 3 plates thing.
How can you hold 3 plates then?
We'll have to send you a photo. After tea tonight, I'll pose and send you a photo.
What did you think about the Australians, the Kiwis? What do you think you got from their way of life, or who they are as people?
Yeah, to be honest, I wanted to live there. So the minute, sort of my time was drawing to an end, I thought, God, I've really got to make a decision. I haven't really met anyone that I could marry. I was only 22. But I love the lifestyle. I love their laid backness, and it's very, and also I was quite surprised, because even in Melbourne and, sort of Victoria, there was a real sense of, you had the Italian community, the Spanish community. So I really felt there was a lot of connection with Europe. So that fitted in really well, because I love all the kind of European countries. So I did feel quite at home. And I think sort of that area particularly, but I would say, just their sort of the attitude to life, never get stressed about anything. Just that, it's such easiness to meet people. And I think I've always found it easy to meet people and connect with people, but particularly there, it was never hard work. And that's what I loved about it. And I love the lifestyle. It was just very laid back, and even Melbourne was just very easy to get around. You had all the tram system, and I think at one point it was probably like the best city to live in. And I'm sure it was probably around the time, I think it was around the time I was there, but it was just easy. And I think coming back was really hard. So you're suddenly like, right, well, I haven't got a job. What am I going to do next? Do I really want to live here? So I felt quite unsettled for about 6 months, trying to decide what to do next. But it's just a very easy place to be. And it's kind of an extension of England, isn't it? But
Sunshine.
it's so far away. But sunshine, yeah. Of course
It's sunny, and people. I think it's all the vitamin D makes everybody happier.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a shame it's 24 hours to get there.
Yeah, I know. It is very painful, the travel.
Yeah,
especially coming back.
Yes, I think that's
to look forward to.
Well, I think now as well, having kids, I would think twice about doing it. I can't. When my son was little, I couldn't imagine doing a 24-hour trip with him.
Oh yeah, we did that. Oliver puked all the way there. It was great fun.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
you're very brave.
Horrific. It was horrific.
I can imagine.
I have to tell you that story sometime. It was yeah. I used to fall out with everybody on the way there. It was great fun.
I'm making a note of all these things, Michelle, that we're going
to have to talk about. So coming back to Blighty, then what was next?
Yeah. Well, I moved very close to you guys. So I did actually meet someone in Australia, and he moved over, and I spent a year living up in Middlesbrough or Gisborough, so just outside Middlesbrough. So I had a year there, and at that point, I had no idea what I was going to do career-wise. I think someone said to me, when I was 19, it's okay, you've got until 25 to figure out what you're going to do. I don't know why 25 is a particular number, because I still haven't figured out what I'm doing. But I do remember her words, something that, someone says that you kind of hold on to. So I thought, it's okay, I've got till 25 to muck around and play around a bit. So when I lived in Middlesbrough, I signed up to do a course to teach English. So one of the things when I lived in Australia, I was helping someone who was living there and had struggled with his English. And I thought, that's what I want to do next in my career. I want to teach English. So found the course in Middlesbrough, spent a year living with my boyfriend at the time, and did this course. And then when I came back, I decided to apply for jobs, live abroad. So I just tried different countries and landed with Naples in Italy. Probably one of the craziest cities I've ever come across. But I just, it was very much like following your heart and just going with your intuition. I thought, no, that's the one. So I'd written to lots of different countries and different schools. Whereas, in those days you would handwrite letters. It wouldn't be email and have a look, and everything was so different. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. And then I got a phone call and got offered this role in Naples. So I ended up going there for 2 years. So I think I was about 23, 24 when I went there. And so spent 2 years teaching in schools, in companies, learning Italian. Well, for the first 6 months, I couldn't actually work out. Well, I thought I was learning Italian, but couldn't work out why I couldn't understand anyone. And then someone said to me after 6 months, oh, by the way, everyone speaks Neapolitan here. So they've obviously got a completely different dialect. So I'm learning Italian, but everyone speaks Neapolitan. So that was a bit of a disaster.
That's nice to tell you after 6 months, though.
Yeah, exactly. I know. At least it could have been 2 years. I was there for 2 years. So I realised that I didn't really want to learn Neapolitan, but I learned a few words just to make them happy, but then carried on learning Italian. So yeah, that was a crazy couple of years. It's also one of those places where no one follows any rules. So if there's like a red light, a car would go through a red light, so you had I suddenly realised how British I was when I was living there, because, that like people didn't queue. So you went in the post office and no one queued. They were just kind of, and then when I came back after 2 years, I suddenly had adopted all those Italian or Neapolitan ways of living. So I literally just kind of would barge my way through to the front of a queue, and then I would think, oh my God, I'm back in England. I need to remember that people queuing.
That's the most grievous social faux pas, isn't it?
You don't realise how, I know I was talking to James about Sweden this week, and you don't realise how quick you're adapting to new environments and customs, and people are very vocal there, and they're very emotional. And I got, so if I was hearing a conversation, I think they're having an argument, but they're just having a discussion. So after a while, I sort of lost my Britishness, and I became quite emotional, and I'd say what I think, and I'd use all the gestures. And so again, I think even now, like I'm terrible. Like I can walk across the road, and I'm quite happy to walk across the road when it's still, red light and things, because I think even after 20 years, I've got that so ingrained in me, that kind of express myself, break rules. So yeah, quite like it.
A pirate.
That's why I'm meant to be a pirate. It was an Neapolitan experience that gave it away.
Brilliant. So what came next?
So after Italy, good question. I think I travelled around a bit. Did I travel around a bit for a while? Did a bit of. I got into South America at that point. So I just But then I was thinking, I was past the 25 where I had to sort my life out. So obviously aware of that I hadn't sorted my life out. I fell into a job working in, at the time they called it was part of HR, so training department. And I ended up being in this company for 2 years. And that was probably, I would say, that sort of started my career in learning and development and HR. And I loved it there because it was a really lovely company, really brilliant culture. It was very sociable. I was probably a bit too social for an HR person. So I was always being told off that I needed to be careful what I said when I'm out. And but it was really good training. So I really learned a lot of how to compose myself in, outside or mixing with people socially, as opposed to while you're representing HR. So love that, absolutely love that company. So I worked there for a couple of years, and I kind of worked my way up to pretty much running the show. So the person I worked with had to eventually left, and they had no one to replace it. But then they were restructuring. I was made redundant. But I think it just gave me the start of a career, that I really was craving. I wanted to settle. I wanted to do something that I could progress in. And I could see then, coaching, mentoring, these words were starting to come up, and I got kind of interested that, there could be some scope, and I could, play around in this career for a while. So I was there a couple of years in the end.
So you're slightly over 25. You now know kind of what you want to do. So what was your next step?
Well, I then thought I would go for a completely different company. So I ended up working in insurance. So very suited and booted, very formal. And I worked over near Canary Wharf. So it was quite a commute. But those days I had no kids, so it was fine. You could travel an hour and a half. It was no problem. Those were the days. You didn't have to worry about work-life balance. So I ended up working there for 5 years. And so 4 or 5 years, yeah. So I sort of realised as time was going along that I culturally, it probably wouldn't have been my ideal type of environment. But it was just nice to have a kind of completely different experience. So I'd worked in this kind of conference and publishing business, my first part of my career in L&D, and then insurance. And it was good. It was just sort of a completely different experience. And there I started to get inspired by some of the consultants that I worked with, and I could see, one of them was an amazing coach, and I would listen into her calls, and I would think, oh, I love how she's not giving the answer to people. She's helping people to come up with their own answers. So I was just taking a lot of information in there and just kind of getting inspired by all the people that I worked with. And then there was somebody who I worked with there who who told me about laughter yoga. She was probably one of the happiest, friendliest people I've ever met. And she had such good values and just how she treated people. I loved everything about her. And she mentioned, I said to her one day, like, how do you stay so happy? What is your secret? She said, over in Australia, I joined this group called Laughter Yoga, and we laugh every week on the beach, and then we go home and we do all these different exercises together. And I thought, okay, that sounds odd, but I'll go with it. And then 20 years on, I am now running laughter yoga workshops. So I think she kind of sowed a seed. So that, I think that business for me, it sowed a lot of seeds for where I wanted to go. And I thought my next goal is to become, a learning and development consultant. I want to be a coach. And I'd also looked into life coaching at that point, and I discovered NLP. The company had kind of refused to fund any of that for me. So I thought, fine, I'll do it myself. So I literally, just looked at all the, just started looking into NLP, went on a one-day training, had an experience of life coaching. I was like, my God, that's such hard work. Coaching is really hard work, because I kind of expected to go along and someone to give me all the answers. And then I realised that, oh no, that's not what coaching's about. I need to, so I actually felt exhausted after my first life coaching session, but so hooked. And I thought, God, that's what I want to be. I want to be a life coach to the stars. So yeah, I've not quite been life coach to the stars yet.
Not yet, though. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a dreamer, so I get these ideas, and I can just sit in a, kind of my form, like before I married Cole. So my name was Thorn, and Cole says to me, "Oh, you've gone off to planet Thorn," when I just sort of literally zone out, and I just kind of, have these amazing like little ideas and little dreams. So yeah, so life coach to the stars. That's what I wanted to do. But back down to earth.
Tell us about so laughter yoga. It's a phrase with two words, which is almost a clash. It's almost an oxymoron. Of your image of yoga is Zen, and although we've discovered
downward facing dog,
it's actually quite
hard,
quite a lot of work. So what is it exactly?
Okay, so laughter yoga. So basically, they are kind of laughter exercises. The yoga, it's more. I think Michelle mentioned this. So it's more laughter than yoga. The yoga part is more the breathing. So you are just really using, or you're kind of they're very playful exercises that just help release endorphins. They help you feel good. They're good for mental health. They're good for just releasing more oxygen into the body. So I think the way to describe it is it's you fake it till you make it. So your body doesn't know the difference between real and fake laughter. So, and I know both of you have experienced it now. So, when you first hear about it, it's like, how does it work? How can you just laugh without not having anything to laugh at? But it's literally just playful exercises and almost like you are attaching the exercise to everyday activities. So you could be cleaning the house, you could be shaking someone's hand, obviously pre-COVID, or you could, so you could imagine like you've got a parcel and you're opening a parcel and you're having a little giggle as you're doing that. But the idea is, I've obviously during this period, I've done a lot of laughter yoga online. So it's not quite the same, but if you were in kind of real life next to each other, there would be that connection that you would have between the other person, and you would bounce off each other. So you would have that, it's like that kind of mirror in your eyes that actually, like when you're smiling or laughing, you just obviously pick up the energy and that kind of that laughter from the other person. So it's you just actually just bounce off each other. So the fakeness does end up becoming real laughter, and the more you laugh, you just feel good, don't you? You know what it's like when you laugh.
But yeah, I had sore cheeks and a sore tummy from the laughing and from the muscles. And all you can see, because we recorded our video, didn't we? And all you can hear is me cackling.
That was a great laugh.
Are there any particular stars that are on your hit list of if they're listening, or we put it out to the universe?
What stuff for coaching, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Laughter yoga sessions, you never know.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I think at that time I was really into my Hello magazines. I don't know if it's quite, the dream that I want now. I think for me now, I think after being in the corporate world and being out of it, in and out, shake all about. I think just having. I really have that sort of passion and enthusiasm really for going back into the corporate world and just helping people. I think particularly after this year with COVID and what's been going on, I have such a, kind of strong desire to really be back in companies and helping people and just get everyone feeling good again and just obviously help boost mental health. So I think my plans from my 26 something self has changed probably, sort of 20 years on. I'm in a bit of a different phase really. But no, who knows? We'll see. We'll see who I attract as the time goes along. That might change. My kind of aspirations seem to change yearly, so it could happen again.
So what was the 20-year journey between being introduced to laughter yoga and actually becoming a laughter yoga expert?
Good question. So after leaving the insurance company, I ended up working for Research International. So that's where I met my husband. Mm-hmm. So in the same year, I say that's probably one of the biggest, you get a big year in your life. This is, for me, was probably one of the biggest years. So I joined the company and I had my dream job as a learning and development consultant. For some reason, the consultant just felt really grown up.
Yeah.
I have a proper job now at 32. Yes. And I always had this thing at 30, I wanted to be on 30,000. I was earning £30,000 as well. So, your little kind of aspirations you have along the way. So 32. So starting with that company, I started doing an NLP practitioner program, which I think was about 20 days of training, which was so intense, but absolutely amazing. So whenever you go on anything like that, I know you probably know yourselves, you're in kind of being drawn into something. You have so much personal development. Met my husband, which was amazing. And I also, so when I worked at the insurance company, I had this thing about going to Asia, and they were running a program there where they had different students over from different insurance companies, and they were all having this wonderful couple of weeks in the UK. And I thought, I would love to spend some time in Asia. So I joined this company, did my NLP, met my husband, and then my manager at the time, who ran the department, had a trip to China, which he couldn't go on. So he said, Rebecca, would you like to go in my place? And it was just, those words that you hear where you just suddenly have this idea or a real dream and suddenly someone's presenting it to you on a plate. So I kind of nervously said, yes, of course. So I had to go and run a workshop with all the kind of CEOs and the senior managers. And so it was massively daunting, but also incredibly exciting, because I think, we all have different things that we do where we feel our best selves. And I think for me, at the minute I get on a plane and I travel somewhere, something changes in me. It's like the physiology changes in me. And I just think, right, okay, I can do this. I'm on my own. I feel really empowered. So I think that's always been for me part of my journey, is just kind of travel, independence, feeling empowered. So I went out to China, and whilst I was out there, had a most wonderful week. It was incredible. And the head of the region, I think it was on the last day, I saw her standing at reception, and I had, when you have like a little idea in your mind, and I thought, right, I'm just going to go over to her and ask her for a job. So I literally just walked over and I said, oh, can I have a chat with you about something? But it was almost like an out-of-body experience while I'm having it, because I thought, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I ended up, so we took a taxi together to one of the markets, and she said, oh, what is it? What do you want to talk to me about? I said, oh, I'd really love to come out here for about 6 months. And then literally I got back, and I think within 3 months they had created this opportunity for me to go out there, but not particularly to Shanghai, but ended up going to Tokyo. So that took a while for that to happen, but eventually, I think after a year, because I'd met my husband as well, I didn't want to leave him, but then they created an opportunity for him as well. So I thought, brilliant, we get to travel to Asia together. You couldn't write this, it was just amazing. So we ended up traveling to Tokyo for 6 months, which turned into a year, and just had the most awesome. It was incredible. We traveled. I was looking after the people management, coaching and mentoring programs. So literally just went to all different cities in Asia. And because it was Asia Pac, they classed it as, I got to travel to Australia and New Zealand as well. So it almost ticked my ticked the box of, going to traveling, which I get so much energy and empowerment from, but getting paid for it, correct? But also just, being able to do a job that I really love doing as well. It was also a little bit lonely as well, because it was just the two of us. And I think he just joined a football club. He'd had sort of quite a lot of colleagues at work, and he had a football team that he joined. But I found it really difficult to meet people when I was there. I think it's got easier since, but I think, particularly there, it just took a long time. But it was all part of resilience training of, I just threw myself into my job and just travelled. So I thought, I won't worry about friends at the moment. I'll deal with that later in my life. But that was great. And then after that, they created other roles. So they wanted us to stay, but we were ready. We were quite homesick by that stage. But my job had gone in the UK, so a role popped up in Paris. So again, these were the days where I didn't have to worry about kids. But ironically, when I had a flat back in London, and I had a picture of Sacré-Cœur on my wall when I looked at that picture every day. So I do wonder, there's a part of me think, was I looking at that, and was I subconsciously taking that image into my mind? So who knows? But so Paris was never on the list, but I ended up, both of us ended up going there for a couple of years. So yes, that took us up to Paris. So we're almost up to, so after Paris, the company restructured and came back and got made redundant, which is a little bit of a shame, but it was perfect timing. So I thought, this is the perfect time to start up and do my own thing. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know what I'm passionate about. So I think I spent the first year of having my own business as not really earning much money, because I was giving away all my services. But it was just, I think when you haven't ever really been in you've gone from always being paid to suddenly working on your own, and it's adjusting to so many things. But I think that for me, probably a bit of a lesson learned there around how much I give away. I don't know if I've actually learned from it, because I've been giving quite a lot away this year as well. But, it's just in your nature, isn't it? So I worked for, started up Life Balance, and then was quite broody. So I wanted to have kids. And that's probably, I would say probably for the last 8 years, I had my son a year after coming back from Paris. Oh, got married in between, forgot that little detail. And then, so got back from so had my son in 2012. And then, it was a bit of a change of direction, really. I still have my business, but I really missed just being in an office and missed being around people. So I'd say the last few years, it's been very much a mix of, kind of diving into contracts to pay the bills and just get my social fix, to working on my laughter yoga and my consultancy. So there's been a real mix of different activity depending on what I've needed at the time. And I think laughter yoga now has become, when I tried to promote it 8 years ago, when I did my training and wanted to kind of do and share, I realized that not everyone was really kind of ready for it. So I think wellbeing has definitely evolved, hasn't it, over the last sort of year, definitely the last couple of years, where businesses are now creating wellbeing hubs and, groups that are really taking wellbeing seriously. But, 8 years ago when I first did my training, I can't, right, everyone, I'm going to be sharing laughter with you, but it just didn't feel the right time. Whereas I think the last couple of years has definitely been much more, it's been much more, people have engaged with it more. They're more receptive to it. They see the benefits. I'm not having to just show all the business benefits. It's just much more, just people are much more engaged. So I think this is the time now I feel well-being and what I do, what I love doing, which is around well-being and happiness. I feel that I can have more of serious conversations about that. So times have changed, and that's pretty much takes us up to nowadays. I'd say where we are now, really. Okay. Obviously, 2020 has been a slightly different year and not quite gone as expected. But I think
it has been a bit of a shift, hasn't it, for everybody? Is there anything we've missed that we talk about?
I actually missed out. There was a little bit of a time where I worked at a university and discovered how much I loved working with young people. So I did that for 3 years in between. I think it's trying to juggle being a mum and having a career. I mean, this is a whole other discussion that we won't get into now, but it's trying to make those decisions on how you get fulfilled as a person and how you kind of continue your career whilst bringing up a child and having the work-life balance. So I've always stuck to what it is that I'm, what I believe in, but it has been sometimes at the detriment of not always kind of feeling I'm progressing in my career. But I think now it's more about just finding what you enjoy doing. And I think that's where I am now. It's just I've found what I love doing. It's just kind of bringing that into companies. That's the plan.
So I think we're going to go on to the quick fire round. I forgot what it was called. So question number 1 is, who is the most fascinating person you ever met?
Oh, good question. Fascinating person. I would say the lady that I was telling you about for laughter yoga, I would say she's definitely, I would say her. And actually, my coach that I'm working with now, so Jackie Marson, I met her, she used to do a column in Psychology's magazine. And when I was pregnant, I thought, I'm definitely going to contact her and organise a session. Because I thought maybe I might become a counsellor. And so I went along for a session, and I've been with her for 8 years. So, but she's just one of those people that's just full of energy. She makes me laugh. It's not your typical counselling session that I imagined it would be. It's full of, I don't know, it's just I feel, so she's just kind of one of those just really vibrant people that I've just learned so much from over the years. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you.
Question number 2, what's your favourite song to get you into a good mood?
Oh, I'm not good with quick fire questions, right? I'm a okay, so I would say, because I've been listening to it a lot this week, called The Greatest Showman. So From Now On, I don't know if you've seen the film. So from now on, and this is me. So yeah, that whole film is just so inspirational, and it's all about hope, fulfilling your dreams, diversity. And yeah, so if I'm just feeling really like losing hope on things, I just pump on one of those songs and they just, they help me sort of believe again and have hope.
So you can't see this, but in our room, we've got 3 quotes dotted around from The Greatest Showman. It took me so long to get him to watch it. I watched it, I was like, oh, you're going to love this. And he's like, I'm not sure about it. And then yesterday we had a session, and we had to say what our favourite movie was. This one's.
Oh, I put The Greatest Showman.
Really? Yeah.
And then I was joking and say, well, I can't believe you didn't make me watch this sooner.
It is just an incredible film, isn't it? And I just love Hugh Jackman as well. He's incredible.
Cool. So question number 8 is the 100 million. No, question number 3.
That again.
It's still number 8 on our list.
Yep.
So question number 3 is, where would you want to live next?
Oh, Sweden. Oh no, I've been very inspired by James about Sweden. I would love, actually, I think New York. I've got a thing about New York at the moment. I've got a friend over there, talk to her every week. And yeah, America, I've never been to America. I've travelled a lot and I've lived in 4 different countries, but I've never been to the US. So it's definitely on the list.
Cool.
Yeah, New York.
Awesome.
It's a good choice. We'll have to have a chat about that place as well.
He's lived there as well.
I know. Yeah, no, I've got Hong Kong and New York to talk to James about. Yeah,
I live in San Diego. I can tell you about that.
Yeah, you can tell me about that anytime.
It's the dude's territory.
Yeah, it's like Australia. Really similar.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Weather.
Gorgeous.
And so for our final question, we pull up outside your house in the Inspiration North DeLorean and we can take you back to your 18-year-old self. What advice would you give?
Oh, loads. I would say to, just sort of relax and enjoy the journey. Don't kind of stress too much when things don't happen. You know, the dots will all join, will all connect. I think that's the phrase at the moment, isn't it? It will all connect. It will all work out. And also not to get too, if you don't feel kind of accepted in a group or you're in a workplace that doesn't feel right, you don't need to prove anything. I think there's many times through my kind of over the years where I've tried to fit into groups or I've tried to stay in a job that I haven't been happy in, just to try and prove something. So I think, validation, comes from within. It doesn't come from outside. That's been my latest discovery in my 40s. So yeah, just having, just relax, enjoy the journey and don't feel you've got to prove anything to anyone. That would be my advice.
Awesome.
Very good. So for our listeners, if you would like to follow Rebecca or get in touch, 2 best places on LinkedIn, search for Rebecca Della, or on Instagram, look for @LifeBalance, and the I in life is the number 1.
Sure. Thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on to the Inspiration North podcast, Rebecca. It's been awesome finding out a bit more about your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.